Behind her gentle smile lies a dark secret that could destroy an entire kingdom. What will happen when the hero meets the black wolf that summons him? Amidst war and intrigue, a forbidden love grows between two sworn enemies. Will their love be able to overcome the hatred and darkness that threatens to destroy them? What happens when our hero realizes that he is not who he thinks he is? In a world filled with lies, the truth can be the deadliest weapon. In the midst of a fierce battle, our hero must face his strongest enemy. But can he defeat the black wolf that haunts his every step?
This comic tells the story of when the black wolf called me. What is the black wolf? Let's see and hear the story. At noon, precisely called work, came a woman with long hair and wearing a very beautiful outfit. Yeonwoo is her name. She dances in front of the royal palace wearing a red dress and mask. Pia. The guards were surprised by Miss Yeonwoo's arrival at the palace. Then they were shocked to see Miss Yeonwoo come in holding a sword, and said Miss Yeonwoo's hand was. All the guards were shocked to see the woman's hand flowing with blood. The guards said, "Please wait for Miss Yeonwoo." The guards saw blood everywhere when Miss Yeonwoo passed by, and said to quickly call a doctor. Miss Yeonwoo looked at the royal door with a sharp gaze. Brack! Miss Yeonwoo pushed the royal door very hard. Miss Yeonwoo entered and saw her husband sitting in the royal chair very relaxed. Yeonwoo's husband said, "Yeonwoo beloved," finally came to wish her husband a happy birthday. Then Yeonwoo looked at her husband with a sharp, hateful gaze. "Put that dangerous thing in your hand," said Yeonwoo's husband. Yeonwoo is against it. "No, I'm here on a mission," said Yeonwoo with emotion and anger. Yeonwoo's husband said, "Okay, are you going to try to kill me again?" while giving his evil smile. And said, "You already failed once, you know." Then all the royal guards laughed at that. Yeonwoo was laughed at by the royal guards because he had already failed in trying to kill him. Then, Yeonwoo got angry and his temper rose even more. The sword he was holding was held very tightly, which caused his hand to leak veins and blood more and more. Very loudly and angrily, Yeonwoo said, "You should have killed me. Not my innocent family. You should have killed me and made me food for your precious crows." With great remorse for what he had done, he said, "Don't say that. How could I kill you when I love you so much?" Yeonwoo was surprised by his husband's words. "Love," Yeonwoo said with a smile. "You maniac, to call it love. This is love, you call it. After doing all those horrible things, you call it love." With emotion and tears, Yeonwoo emphasized, "You killed everyone in my family and hanged them all on the castle gate. How dare you talk about love? You killed my family just because I looked at you. You plastered your name all over my body with a searing hot iron. And whatever you do, all of this, you call it in the name of love," said Yeonwoo.
Hyojo answered, "Yes."
"This is love," Yeonwoo said in exasperation.
Hyojo emphasized, "You are mine."
Then Yeonwoo replied, "Just as you said, isn't it engraved all over your body?"
"You are." The hot iron was placed on Yeonwoo's body.
Ah! Yeonwoo was in pain as Hyojo pressed the hot iron against her body.
"Mine is Hyojo." It seems like Hyojo wants Yeonwoo to say those words.
But Yeonwoo refused and said, "I'm not yours."
"No," said Hyojo. Then, Hyojo wanted to grab and kiss Yeonwoo's blooded head, while saying, "You are mine forever."
The blood in Yeonwoo's hand flowed very much on the sword he was holding.
Ha 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 ha. Hyojo laughs and lets go of Yeonwoo's hand, then said,
"What a crazy guy. What should I do with this crazy guy? In this life or the past life?" Instantly Hyojo was silent.
And Yeonwoo was also silent. Then he put the sword on his neck.
"Yeonwoo, give me this knife," Hyojo said.
With great emotion, Yeonwoo told Hyojo, "Did I tell you? You can never have me."
"Who can kill me is," Hyojo said.
It's not you, it's me, Yenwu said as he slashed the sword across his neck. Then,
Yanwu, Hyojo shouted.
it's always pitch black in the underworld. Your birthday is the only time I can see the bright blue sky. But it's must too much for you, said Yenwu, who was still unconscious. Yenwu immediately lay down with a wound on her neck from the incision she made with the sword while saying, "So I made a birthday gift that suits you. Happy birthday, Hyojo."
Hyojo panicked. Hurry up and call the doctor. As much as you hurt me, I hope you suffer on this day for the rest of your life. Quick, Hyojo's order to his subordinates.
Yenwu is still awake.
Then, a man came up to them, and the guard asked, "Who is it?"
Is he really crying for me? Said the man while looking at Yanwu.
Then Yenwu said, "Don't look at me like that. I have now had the best revenge. I want to rejoice in this death." Instantly, Yenwu was unconscious, and he told the story in his subconscious. Then Yenwu begged, "Tamia, the god of the underworld, I don't know you make me live in this harsh life over and over again. Please don't do that this me. I don't want to. It's okay if I disappears like this. So please, in the next life, don't send me to the world where Hyojo lives." Yenwu woke up and was surprised. He didn't expect that. "No way," Yenwu said. He paused as he looked around him. "Ah, why?" Yenwu said disappointedly. "And why am I here again?" Yenwu was silent, with a gaze full of courage. I have to run away."
Hoa, seen a horse being ridden by a man. Stop.
Yenwu was stopped by the man.
They looked at each other. Then the man said, "These are people from the earth."
Yenwu could only remain silent and could not continue his journey.
They are people from the surface, said the man in the purple robe.
Yonu was silent.
You, said the man while looking at Yenwu.
Then Yenwu said, "This is different from before. In my previous life, Hyojo clearly appeared."
Hey, are you guys okay? Yenwu also looked back. It was her father who was asking her, his sister and mother. Is anyone hurt?
I'm fine. What about Dad?
A glimpse of father, mother, and child conversations.
"Dad, Seo Wu, Mom, everything. They are still alive," said Yenwu, who was surprised to see his family was still alive.
Then the man in purple approached Yenwu's family and said, "You must have been in an accident. Are you hurt?"
Oh, yes, we're fine, Yenwu's father said. What's with those clothes? Is there a drama filming nearby or something? Yenwu's father asked Seo Wu. Then the father approached the man. Excuse me, could I borrow a cell phone? Mine doesn't seem to be working. I'm not sure if it got damaged in an accident.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I think I can help, the man said. Hey, the man calls out to the other woman, and she says,
Yes.
They were talking about the figure of the Jangong. "You go and greet Master Jangong with these people," Yenwu said to the man. "Jangong, here's the figure." Then Yenwu explained, "Here, he's the ruler of the underworld. And Hyojo's father," Yenwu said. "If it goes on like this, we'll run into Hyojo," Yenwu said.
The bird also approached Yenwu and the others and told them that.
No, they might already be coming this way.
Yenwu was silent, then said, "It's not safe here either. We need to escape."
They also hurried to leave the place immediately.
Exactly should we go?
There was someone calling Yonwoo Unnie, and it was Seo Wu. He invited Yonwoo to come with him. Then, that person offered to help us. "Let's not waste any more time," Seo Wu said.
Then Seo Wu paused to see Yenwu's hair instantly change.
"Unnie, your hair," Seo Wu said.
While holding his hair, Yenwu was very surprised.
Seo Wu asked, "What's wrong? How did this happen?"
"I don't understand either. This is what on earth," Yenwu said.
The man said, "It's truly beautiful. I've never seen hair shine like this before. Come with me."
"Who?" Yenwu said with concern.
Wait a moment, why are you only taking my eldest child with you? Yenwu's father said.
Then the man said, "Don't worry, after meeting Master Jiangong, we'll be able to see each other again."
His father was very angry and said, "How can I trust your word?"
But if it goes on like this, we'll definitely run into Hyojo, Yenwu said. And instantly Yenwu went into his own mind and remembered what Hyojo said.
"Then, how could I ever kill you, my love?"
Speech that really torments Yenwu's mind. It's all because of me. I'm sorry everyone. It's all my fault. Yenwu said regretfully.
Her words were heard by the man who had come to the kingdom. Then he asked, "Are you truly sorry?" Yenwu was surprised that the man suddenly reappeared.
Yenwu sat under a big tree while silently looking at the man.
The man was helpless with blood pouring down his body while looking at Yenwu. Then asked, "You knew Hyojo was going to kill us, won't you? Tell me, Yenwu." Once again. "Well, we because of you, won't we?"
The man forced Yenwu to answer his question. Yenwu came out of her thoughts.
Then Yenwu was silent.
"I'll go," the man said.
"I'll go with you." Yenwu also wanted to go with that man.
The man also looked at Yenwu.
Annie, are you being serious? Ask Seo Wu to Yeonwoo.
"That's right, Yenwu. It's too dangerous," said his father.
And Yenwu replied, "I'm not sure if this is the right choice either. But, right now, this is the only way to avoid Hyojo."
Then his mother came in full of anger and said, "Just leave her alone. When has Yi Unwoo ever listened to us? You're so worried about her that you don't even realize we're falling apart," said the mother to her husband. "You're always so selfish while looking at Yi Unwoo."
"Honey," the father also tried to calm his wife.
"That's not it, Mom," Yenwu said.
Her mother hurried away and, "Fine, I won't bother anymore. So do as you please. Let's go."
Yenwu's father also chased his wife while asking questions. "Honey, are you really okay with going like this?"
"Mom," Yenwu said very quietly. "I'm sorry I couldn't explain properly, Mom. This time, I'll protect you," Yenwu said. Yenwu was silent, and
The man approached her. "You're quite the unusual woman. Being alone with me in this situation," he said.
Yenwu confirmed, couldn't have been an easy choice. Then he extended his hand to the man and said, "You have something to discuss with me alone, don't you? The same goes for me. Aren't you going to hold my hand?"
The man smiled and was very happy. "It's an honor to hold the hand of such a beautiful woman, especially here in the underworld," he said. She kissed Yeonwoo's hand and looked at him.
Likewise with Yenwu, who looked at the man.
Then the man said, "Then, if you have something to say to me."
"It's okay, I can do this. After falling into the underworld due to a traffic accident, I keep returning to this point every time I died in the underworld," Yeonwoo said.
"And this time marks my third life in the underworld," the man said while holding Yeonwoo's hand.
"Through the tedious cycles of life, I've learned to use everything I know," Yenwu said while bowing his head.
The man didn't let go of his hold on Yeonwoo. The man paused and looked at Yeonwoo.
"Hyojo, I will break free from you," Yenwu said in his heart, while looking at the man. Take me," Yenwu's request to the man.
The man could only stare at Yeonwoo, begging him to take her with him. And the man clasped his hands as he said, "A woman telling a man she met for the first time to take her, do you realize what that means?"
Then Yeonwoo said, "Yes, I'm aware. Since my second life here in the underworld, I've realized one thing in desperation. The moment I arrived in this place, I couldn't go back to my original world. And also that, is even more impossible to stay unnoticed by Hyojo. I can't relive that terrible life again. I will become your woman."
The man also fell silent while staring and holding Yeonwoo's hand. Then he smiled slightly and his hand moved to hold Yeonwoo's cheek. "Your confession somehow feels sad. Just, who in this world," he said. Then the man reprimanded Yeonwoo, would wear such an expression while saying she becomes someone's woman? "I'm also quite curious about you, but I cannot take a stanger, as such."
"No," Yenwu shouted and said. You will accept me while looking at the man. Someone who comes across a lost person would usually ask if they're not hurt or make them go back to their home. But you asked my family to greet someone called Jangong off the bat, which would mean it's a rule in this place, right? However, you requested for the two of us to discuss out of the blue, despite going against that rule. While staring angrily, Yenwu emphasized, "Am I wrong?"
The man could only smile and say, "In any case, your request doesn't seem too simple."
All right. Then, please excuse me. Suddenly the man lifted Yenwu up and put him on the horse.
Then the man said, "Let me propose a deal. As I've told you before, I don't take in strangers, also. I'm not gullible enough to believe that you truly wish to become my woman. Therefore be honest and tell me what you're aiming for. I'd like to know the real feelings behind your fake confession."
Yenwu was silent and put his hand on the man's shoulder and said, "What I truly wish for is Mom, Dad, Siowu, and whatever happens, please protect me," Yenwu said.
The man smiled and said, "Good."
Then he rode a horse with Yenwu. Haya, they hurried to leave the place by riding horses.
While walking, the man said, "Come to think of we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm Huida. How about you?"
Yenwu, I'm Chai Yenwu. Yenwu closed her eyes and said, "It's been a while since I've wandered outside this freely."
Chai Yin-Wu. What a beautiful name, the man said. Then Huida stopped his horse and said, "We've arrived."
This place is. Yenwu was very surprised when they arrived at that place.
Then Huida said to Yin-Wu, "We're at the back entrance of the palace. Your hair stands out. It'd be best to be discreet and enter this way," Huida said. Yin-Wu was speechless with what she saw before her eyes. And Huida asked, "Is this your first time seeing them?" Huida also explained to Yin-Wu, "It's a flower that only blooms in the underworld. This place is always dark, the sky is constantly pitch black. And the only light is from the puddles of lava flowing over there. This flower absorbs the ash from those puddles as nourishment, which is why they're able to bloom."
I see. Yenwu was silent because she remembered something after seeing the flower at that time.
Yin-Wu. Hyojo called Yin-Wu and brought the flowers. "Take these." Then Hyojo gave it to Yin-Wu. "They bloom beautifully, just like you," Hyojo said.
Yenwu was silent.
Likewise with Huida. Huida looked at Yin-Wu because she didn't understand what Yin-Wu was. Imagining so Yin-Wu was silent like that.
"That's right, I really have returned," Yenwu said. Then the gate opened, and Yenwu said, "In this excruciating, tiresome, and horrible place."
"Sir Huida," suddenly a woman appeared who called Huida from behind. "I was waiting for you."
Yenwu was silent and did not look back. Then, this voice. Looks like Yenwu recognized the woman's voice.
And the woman introduced herself to Yenwu. "Let me introduce myself. I will be the subject attending to my lady. My name is Sareem."
As Yenwu said earlier, he seemed to recognize the woman's voice. Then Yenwu also remembered the incident that happened to him at that time.
"Lady Yenwu. My lady, are you okay?"
Yenwu opened her eyes.
"My lady, please tell me when you're going through tough times. I, Sareem, no matter what, will always stand by your side." It turned out that Sareem had helped her.
What a relief to have met Sareem again, Yenwu said.
Sareem told Yenwu that, "I have led your family to a comfortable place." "Hold on," Sareem said.
Yenwu was silent because she was surprised by his words.
"Sareem is one of Hyojo's subjects," Huida said.
Then Sareem asked, "How come she's here?"
Then Huida ordered Sareem, "Sareem, take the lady with you and dye her hair. The color doesn't matter, as long as it's not bright. Once you're done with it, give her a bath and a change of clothes, then send her to my bedroom," Huida said.
What? Yenwu was surprised by Huida's words.
Then Huida emphasized that, since we'll spend the night together.
Then Sareem immediately invited Yenwu. "Please follow me, milady." And he looked at Yenwu with a smile.
Then Yenwu was silent.
Sareem told Yenwu that, "This is the place where you'll be staying from now on. Feel free to look around."
Then Yenwu answered, "Yes, thank you." Ah, by the way, Yenwu wanted to speak however.
"Yes, milady, please go on." Sareem had interrupted his conversation to tell Yenwu to leave immediately.
Then Yenwu continued his speech. "I don't want you to call me milady. You can also drop the formalities with me. And I think you're mistaken. I'm not in that kind of relationship with Sir Huida. I'm pretty Soreo didn't mean it that."
Then Sareem answered, "That's not right." And he explained to Yenwu, "First of all, it was Sir Huida who insisted. Our master has instructed us to call you milady. How could I possibly drop the formalities?"
Then Yenwu interrupted,
"Will that be all? It's the first time our house has let a lady in," Sareem said.
Yenwu was surprised. "First time?"
Then Sareem replied, "Why, of course."
Yenwu also remembered when his hand was kissed by Huida, and he was very happy at that time, so he said, "But he doesn't seem like the type at all." And
Sareem suddenly wanted to continue Yenwu's words, but he was silent and said, "It's nothing, I'm not in the right position to tell you. But, I'm certain, that milady is special to Sir Huida," Sareem said.
Then Yenwu was surprised by Sareem's words. "I'm special to Sir Huida," he said. Yenwu stepped his feet to get closer to Sareem and said, "Excuse me, can you tell me what Sir Huida is like?"
Then Sareem asked, "Do you perhaps know anything about the guardian spirit?"
Yenwu paused and replied, "No, I've never heard of it."
Then Sareem said, "I see, so you weren't informed." Then Sareem explained to Yenwu, "People who are born and raised here have a beast's spirit in us."
"The beast's spirit in us," Yenwu said, and he was very surprised to hear Sareem's words.
Then Sareem continued his speech, "Are referred to as guardian spirits. From the weak guardian spirits like the rabbit and sparrow, to the king of the jungle that rules the forest, our guardian spirit species is diverse. In dire situations, our guardian spirits can emerge. The stronger the guardian spirit one is granted, the stronger the person is regarded."
And Yenwu answered, "I see. Actually, I knew." Yenwu said,
Who are the two candidates being considered to replace Zhang Gong? And who are the descendants of Mr. Zhang Gong? And what's with Yenwu and Xiaowu? Why did they get hit by a car? Then can they be saved?
Yenwu could only remain silent.
Then Huida answered, "From this moment onward, I'd like it if you were to become my wife."
While looking at Huida, Yenwu could not say anything.
They looked at each other. Huida looked at Yenwu with happiness and said how changed she was. Then she asked, "Is it fun to play with me?"
Yenwu then replied, "Sorry, a woman you just met for the first time asked you to take her. Seems ridiculous, right? That's why you acted aloof towards my words and rejected me at that time. So are you saying that it's not wrong for you to say this now?"
Instantly they fell silent.
You can't imagine how I felt when those words came out of my mouth. You don't even know what's what, Yenwu said.
Huida was silent and looked at Yenwu deeply. Then he held Yenwu's cheek and said, "I'm sorry. I haven't explained well, so it seems you misunderstood. I apologize for not considering your feelings, lady. Compelled to tell the man you just met to take you, you must be in a pretty difficult situation. I'm the same. I didn't say that to lie or joke with you. Will you give me a chance to explain myself?" said Huida.
Yenwu then accepted Huida's request. She immediately tried on the dress she was going to wear, while being accompanied by Huida's servants. Yenwu was silent and said, "As you might have guessed."
After finishing trying on the dress, they sat together and were served with a cup of drink at the table.
Then Huida said, "In this place Zhang is a special creature. He is the king of the underworld. And at the same time, he has the strongest familiar. And there are two candidates in the running to be his successor."
Two candidates? Yenwu was very surprised.
Then Huida continued her explanation. Zhang only has one son, Hyojo. His direct descendant named Hyojo. And the other one is what Huida said while holding a glass. Me. Janggong's distant cousin, Yanwo could only be silent with Huida's words and said,
Janggong's cousin?
Then Huida answered, right now, I'm being threatened by Hyojo. Because my existence is blocking his way to the throne. Therefore, to show that I am not interested in the successor position, I need a woman who has nothing to do with this. And it was right at that moment that you have appeared. What do you think? Will you be my pretend wife? When you are ready to accept my offer, please return to my bedroom.
Yanwu can only be silent with all of Huida's explanations and questions that make him surprised. Because Yanwu agreed to Huida's request, he immediately left Huida's room and hurried to get ready. While daydreaming with very beautiful makeup, Yanwu said, a pretend wife.
After that, a servant came with Yanwu to Huida's room. Mr. Huida. Miss Yanwo has arrived, he said.
Then Yanwu said to herself as she looked at the door, in my past life, I have never heard of a distant cousin. I have never heard of Janggong's distant cousin. I don't know how much is true, but anyway, I have no other choice.
He probably came in, said Huida. Then Huida opened the door and said, You are here. Huida looked at Yanwu, who was looking very beautiful in the dress.
While approaching Huida, Yanwu said, no matter what status, position, or situation, I must use everything within my reach. He looked deeply at Huida. Just like how this person used me, Yanwu said.
Then Huida said, You're wearing a nice expression. Have you made a decision?
Yanwu replied, Yes. I will be your wife, said Yanwu.
Smiling, Huida said, Then it's a deal. Huida then directed Yanwu, now, while pointing her hand towards her room. There you go. Yanwu sat down in her room and Huida held her shoulder and said, In other people's eyes, we should look like a couple who fell in love at first sight. I will put my lips on your neck. Will this be okay with you? While looking at Huida, Yanwu could only be silent. Oh, Huida held Yanwu's earring and said, I told Sareem that you shouldn't wear earrings. Looks like she forgot while hugging Yanwu from the side.
Then, Yanwu looks very anxious because Huida will touch him, but it seems like Yunwo remembers Hyojo, who at that time wanted to do the same thing to him.
Don't forget, with a very scared look, Hyojo also wanted to touch him at that time. But the memory was defeated when Huida started touching his neck.
Then Yanwu said, the only person you can put your lips on. It's me, she said. Immediately, Yunwo fell silent and said, Let go, I told you. To let me go. Let go of me. I said, let go of me.
My lady, Huida said.
I told you to let go of me. Yanwu cried and kept forcing Huida to let go.
Instantly Yanwu looked weak and fell down. Huida was shocked. Young lady. Sigh, Huida said. Really? She is really unpredictable.
Let go of me. Observed from outside the room, Sareem also heard Huida and Yanwu's conversation. Oh said let go. Yanwu's voice got louder, until the servants heard and whispered.
What is it? A woman's scream.
What happened? Sareem said. Sareem also held the door of the room while eavesdropping.
Then another servant reminded Sareem, you must not do this, no matter what. If you're caught eavesdropping here, Mr. Huida will not spare you.
Then Sareem denied it and said, It's okay, it's okay. I'll eavesdrop for just a few seconds. Suddenly, a door to Huida's room was pushed by Sareem, so she fell down.
Huida asked the guards, What are you doing?
Okay, said Sareem fearfully.
Except for Sareem. You all go, said Huida to all the guards.
Yes, Mr. Huida, said the guards.
Sareem wanted to go out, but Huida prevented him. I said wait for my order. But I don't remember giving permission to eavesdrop, said Huida.
Then Sareem replied, Well, that's true, but on an important night like tonight, I wonder if there might be something you need, so I would like to serve you, sincerely and fully. Attention, my lord.
Huida replied, "You're really good at work. But that's over now. It was really the best night. The most important one didn't happen as you expected."
Sareem was very surprised by what you said and said, "What? What happened?" Everyone here heard the woman scream. Why is she screaming like that?
Then Huida was silent and told Sareem to look into the room. Go inside and check for yourself.
Sareem went into his room. Fortunately, it was only a momentary loss of consciousness. He saw Yenwu already lying unconscious. He'll probably be better after a little rest. Why is she crying like this? Sareem said as she wiped away Yenwu's tears.
Then Huida replied, "I didn't do anything."
You handled the Gisin very well. Then why did you make it like this? Sareem said.
Then Huida replied, "When did I handle Gisang well? We just played the necessary over and over to each other's advantage. But he doesn't think that way. In the first place, he's a bank and not looking at me properly." Huida also remembered Yeonwoo's treatment that had just happened. It's like he's thinking of someone else.
Mr. Huida, did you hear me? Who does he think he is? Please treat that woman well, though. She is an important person to you. Maybe you should make her feel comfortable, said Sareem.
Then Huida said, "That's something I still don't know. More importantly, have you checked for any marks on the woman's neck?"
Then Sareem replied, "There are some faint traces, but nothing definite yet."
You can confirm if you are staying here. But since the woman is in this state, it will be difficult to confirm for now. Understood. You can go now and make sure to keep today's matter a secret, said Huida.
Then Sareem replied, "Understand, Mr. Huida."
Huida also approached Yeonwoo while checking his condition. While touching his eyes, Dan said, "You makes me worrying."
It was already morning. Then Yenwu opened his eyes. She paused and looked very. Then Yenwu sat down and said, "Hyojo."
Apparently Huida heard Yeonwoo's words and said, "Hyojo, did you have a nightmare?" Yeonwoo didn't know that Huida was in her room. Apparently Huida was sitting and drinking at the table in her room and said, "How are you doing now? You suddenly fainted last night, which is quite worrying to me."
"Ah," said Yenwu. Then Yenwu replied, "I'm sorry, I don't remember what happened yesterday very well."
"It's okay," said Huida. Then Huida said, You must be feeling very weak. Let's start by eating first." Huida also held the chopsticks. Then Huida also said, "There is one thing I want to clarify. You have asked me to protect you. I have decided to accept that condition.
Yenwu was silent.
However, to do that, I have to know who I have to protect, what and who you're afraid of. I want to know everything," said Huida.
Yenwu was downcast with Huida's question and said in his heart, "What?" The image of the Hyojo instantly entered his mind. And who do I fear? He was still downcast and clenched his two hands so tightly. How much? Can I really tell this person? Then they looked at each other. And Yenwu said, I have a husband." Suddenly, Yenwu remembered his past with Hyojo. Back then, Hyojo called out.
Yeonwoo.
And Yenwu also saw it. She was very happy that Hyojo had approached her at that time. Then she ran over and hugged the Hyojo.
And Hyojo said, "You might fall down if you run like that."
And Yenwu replied, "It's okay, because you will always be there to catch me."
That's right. Yes, maybe. I really loved him once. I will never win against you, Hyojo said.
And those were the words of Hyojo, my ex-husband, Yenwu said in his mind's eye, while hugging. Then Yenwu told me while imagining what happened, before I talked about my previous husband. I'll tell you about my childhood. A family photo on the guest table. With a strict mother and a loving father, a mature first child, and a loving second child, our family would seem like a normal family to others. But in that place, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was an outsider. After that, Yenwu told me about his school testing. At that time at school,
A teacher tells his student, "You know that tomorrow our class will have a parent observation, right? Everyone, don't forget to show the family newsletter to your parents, okay? Make everyone pay attention," and several teachers left. Goodbye and good afternoon.
"Give this to my mum, is it okay to tell her?" Yenwu said as he looked at the newsletter.
It was at his house. Siawu. Siawu Chai. Yenwu was surprised to see her sister shuffling toys.
Ha! Said Siawu.
Mom and Dad will be home soon, so how could you leave such a mess? Who's going to clean all this up? Yenwu said.
Then Siawu replied nervously, "You will."
You are absolutely right. Yenwu is very upset with her sister.
We have arrived home. I heard her mum's voice from outside.
"It's Mom," said Siawu. "Mom." Siawu ran towards his mom who had just arrived.
Siawu Chai. Yenwu called out to her, but Siawu didn't care.
His mum looked at Yenwu so upset.
Then Yenwu said while feeling scared, "Welcome home?"
Then her mum looked at Yenwu while Siawu asked to be held. Yenwu, what's in that house? Mum said.
Then Yenwu replied, "I'll clean it up," but Siawu.
Then her mum interrupted, "Did you blame your sister? It is your responsibility to take care of your younger sister."
Yenwu replied, "That's true, but..." Again, Yenwu's words were cut off.
"Carry me," Siawu said.
Yenwu Chai, her mum called Yenwu.
She was so scared and shocked.
Then his mum said, "What did your mum tell you?" Mum said big sister should do the right thing, so that her younger sister will also do the right thing. Would you like to talk to your mum again?
"No, I apologize," said Yenwu.
Mum is about to take a bath, so you better clean up the mess you made earlier.
Yenwu replied, "Okay." Yes, Yenwu immediately tidied up his house. While holding the doll in her hand, she said, "I knew it would be better if I didn't tell my mum about my parents' observation. Even if I didn't, she'd be too busy to come over. I shouldn't trouble Mum for no reason. I'll be fine alone." The next day, I was going to school, Yenwu said.
Then his mum said, "Yenwu, are you ready to go to school?"
"Yes," said Yenwu.
Then his mother said, "Don't you have anything to say to your mother?"
Then Yenwu replied, "Sorry, don't know what you mean."
"I heard that today is your parent observation class. Why didn't you tell me?" It seems like his mum had already heard of the heritage.
Yenwu frantically replied, I didn't mean not to tell you, because Mum's always busy. I didn't want to disturb you." Yenwu looked down.
Her mother's behavior said, "You're acting weak again." Yenwu, who told you to pay attention to things like that? Yenwu Chai, raise your head, look Mum, look into my eyes. Think carefully before you speak. Do you want Mum to leave, or not to go?
Then Yenwu said, It's been a long time." Yenwu saw her mum.
With a glass in his hand while smiling at Yenwu.
"Ever since I saw you smile." Yenwu tightened his shirt and spoke very nervously. I like it when Mum comes." His mum paused and smiled, then said,
"Okay, this is my daughter's class. Of course I have to go. See you at school later."
"Okay." Yenwu looked very happy as he said, "My mum will come to school. My mum is coming to school to see me."
His mum arrived at school.
Then Yenwu waved goodbye to his mum and said, "I'll work harder to show her the teacher I praise. Then my mum will be proud of me too."
His mum waved back to Yenwu.
"And next time he'll come again, right? Now, I can also be the girl who gets love," Yenwu said happily.
School was in session, suddenly out of school. Mum was really disappointed with Yunwoo today. Mum always said that Yunwoo would be the smartest in his class. But looking at the others makes me very embarrassed. I want to see how well Yunwoo is doing, but if it's like this next time, I better not come. It turns out that Yunwoo disappointed his mother. His mum looked at Yunwoo and said, "You agree, don't you?"
Yenwoo was silent and said, "Still?" Then she clasped her mum's hand. "I'd rather have Mum come."
His mum looked at Yunwoo and said, "Sorry, my daughter." Mum was just upset. I want to boast to others about how smart and beautiful you are, but I can't show it to them. If you promise to do better next time, I will take the time to come again. You understand, right?
"Of course," said Yenwoo.
And her mum said, "I have to make a quick call, so keep an eye on your sister."
Yenwoo replied, "Yes, Mum."
Uni, do we have to keep waiting? Said Siawoo.
Then Yenwoo replied, "I don't know. The phone call seems to be taking a while."
While looking at her mother, Siawoo said, "Can't we go to Mum?"
"No. She told us to stay here. It seems like it's almost over, so wait a little longer," Yenwoo said.
His mother looked at her son.
Mom. Suddenly, Siawoo ran towards her mom.
Then Yenwoo panicked and called out, "Siawoo. You are absolutely right." Yenwoo chasing Siawoo. "Will you listen to your Uni? Look at their delay, there's a mobile that's passing by." Yenwoo was so shocked.
There was a crashing sound. Then the neighborhood people said some children were hit.
"Call for an ambulance. Apparently Siawoo and Yenwoo were hit by the car."
"Father, it turned out that Yenwoo was still unconscious with Sarah in his head."
His mum ran. "No, this is Mum," she said to Yunwoo.
"Mum, it hurts. It's very painful. So please," said Yenwoo. Yenwoo was lying very helpless at that time. Yenwoo just asked her mum to, care about me. Instantly, Yenwoo was unconscious. In his dream he remembered the accident that happened to him and Siawoo. At that time, he saw a car hit them. Suddenly, Yenwoo lost consciousness, ugh. With a bandage on his head, he paused and looked at his neighbor. Then he said, "Here is." She noticed that Siawoo was covered in bandages. While looking at Siawoo, she said, "I'm happy. Siawoo is also safe." Then Yenwoo approached him. "Siawoo, I'm sad that I'm going to protect you, Siawoo, but..." "Siawoo, I'm so sorry," Yenwoo cried as he wiped away his tears. "How can I be happy?" There was a voice from outside which turned out to be her mother. Yenwoo overheard her mother and father's conversation.
Then his mum got hysterical and said, "Does it make sense that you can't even pay the Taliban for the children's hospital? How much money do I have to spend on this accident?"
Then her husband calmed her down. "Honey, please calm down. I'll try to organize it as soon as possible."
"Quiet, are you telling me to calm down in this situation? Siawoo is lying in that state right now. And you're asking me to calm down," Mum said in a tone that was annoyed.
Then her husband said, "Keep your voice down or Yenwoo will wake up."
Then his mum said, "If we don't solve this problem now, we might end up on the streets. I don't want to live like that anymore." Yunwoo. If only he did it right, none of this would have happened. Observed from inside the patient's room, Yunwoo apparently heard his mother's words. "Like you said, if I hadn't asked you to come to school, this accident wouldn't have happened. If only I wasn't selfish."
Siawoo wouldn't get hurt like this. I guess Mum's having a hard time like that, right? Yenwoo is very sad and her mum is very disappointed and upset. Yenwoo cried while covering her ears and said, "It's me again, all because of me. Because of my mistakes." That day also passed. As time passed, Siawoo and I were discharged from the hospital. Our family couldn't afford the hospital bills for both of us, and sold the house we were living in and moved to an older house, Yenwu said. While carrying the box of goods, Yenwu was silent while looking at his mother and said, "After the accident, my mom's eyes were like reprimanding me. Serial times Siawu's scar looks windblown. I felt like everything was pointing at me. It became difficult for both of us to make eye contact. That day passed."
A few years later, I became a famous composer. Although I can't move my left pinky freely because of the accident when I was young, at best, my people are a beautiful composer who overcomes pain. Give me more attention. And the day my song entered the charts for the first time. At that time, Yenwu approached his mum. Mum, look here. My song entered the top charts for the first time. People say it's good to aim for first place this time.
Then his mother said, "Is that so? I'm so proud of me, my son. Then when can you send me this month's living expenses?"
I think I will receive the payment within this week. I'll send it to you as soon as it comes in, Yenwu said.
And his mum replied, "Is that so? I'm glad it went well. I'm sure there will be a lot of money. This month has been very difficult thanks to my eldest daughter. I can still live now." "Thank you, my child," said Mum.
Then Yenwu replied, "I'm fine, Mum. Of course, I will help my own family."
"That's my only Yenwu." Yenwu was surprised that his mum hugged him.
Yenwu was silent and very happy. Then she said, "Really, everything happened because of my mistakes. I just have to do well then." That day passed. My family and I traveled by car. We were very happy. That night it rained while we were on the road. Then Yenwu said, "Over time, our family can be happy again like before. Me and my mum aren't like before anymore. Mum has accepted me well." Our car was traveling very fast.
Then Dad said, "Wait, suddenly the brakes don't work. Everyone be careful."
The car we were traveling in had brake problems, and then slid freely into the ravine. Instantly, our car was underneath us, far from the road. That's when my family felt the underworld for the first time, said Yenwu. I saw a horse. That's how I met the Hyojo. I saw her riding the horse.
Then he said, "They are people from the earth."
Then I looked at the Hyojo.
Hyojo said that I looked like her mom.
It was love at first sight, Yenwu said. She treated my family with great hospitality and allowed us to stay in his palace. He whispered his love as he looked at me and held my cheek, feeling it for the first time.
And Hyojo said, "Everything you love from me. My frozen heart. It melts as if spring has come."
I was also very happy. We feel in love with each other. And the Hyojo holds me. The day passed. At that time, I walked towards the Hyojo room. When I opened the door, I was surprised. Hyojo!
Hyojo was shocked when Yenwu suddenly walked in. "You're here too," Hyojo said.
Yenwu paused as she saw the Hyojo, and the two people were already covered in blood. "What are you doing here? What are you doing now? What is your reason for doing this?" Yenwu said.
Then the Hyojo strangled the man's neck. Can't answer. You talk about this. I heard rumors of one of them. They dared to touch you, said Hyojo.
Then Yenwu got upset and said, "Because of some of that nonsense, they just caught me when I was about to fall."
Hyojo was furious and said, "I imagine they tied your shirt collar." My anger rose to the top of my head. So it's natural to punish them directly. Understand, Yenwu? Just tell me who it is. And all I have to do is kill that person. It's that simple. I even arrested some innocent people for no reason. That's so stupid. So which one of these people arrested you? Okay. Yenwu.
Yenwu fell down very weakly seeing Hyojo's actions.
Then Hyojo approached Yenwu. I see, Yenwu. I look very surprised. Then she clasped Hyojo's hand. It would be all right. You don't have to worry. I know everything.
Yenwu could only remain silent.
While kissing Yeonwoo's hand, Hyojo said, "And I'll handle it all for you. I love you, Yeonwoo."
Yenwu also finished telling about his family, childhood, and Hyojo. It looks like Yenwu is devastated by what she told us. Yenwu could only bow down in front of Huida.
Then Huida replied, "Something like that happened. Then, do you want me to protect you from your ex?"
And Yenwu said, "Ah. Huida must think my ex-husband is on Earth. Men! Because of my ex-husband, I became afraid of men."
Then what about me? Huida said.
Yenwu replied, "Yes."
"I am also a true gentleman," said Huida.
"Oh, that. Because Huida is very kind," said Yenwu.
And Huida said, "So pretty." "After I thought about it, you told me to have it, right?" Huida said.
Yenwu blushed and could only laugh.
Then Huida said, "For women, I think I made you feel very comfortable. If you hadn't fainted last night, I'll make sure you know what kind of man I am." Huida said that as she approached Yeonwoo, and Yeonwoo looks very happy.
Then Yenwu said, "I'm sorry."
"Okay. It's okay because I didn't mean it," said Huida, then said, "More than that, I have a place to go with you today. We're having a banquet at the small shop that I manage. Not often, but sometimes I have to show my face."
Then Yenwu asked, "But why am I in a place like that?"
"It's not very clear," said Huida. With equally happy faces, Huida again approached Yeonwoo and said, "What I want to do with my lover is in a nice place, like a man would want."
Yenwu smiled happily at Huida's words and treatment of her.
Then Huida said, "Then, should we spread the news about the relationship? You should also accompany me in all my schedules for a while. They will leave in the carriage soon. If you need anything, call Sareem or Soho anytime. I will always be by your side." Then Huida introduced the guards to Yeonwoo. "Ah, the introduction is too late. This is Soho, who will be in charge of escorting young ladies from now on. She is still young. Are you also afraid of this person?"
Then Yenwu replied, "I think I'm fine with it." Then Yenwu said, "I'm happy if it is." Then Huida interrupted.
"He may be young, but he's a talented boy. He'll protect you when I'm not around."
"Do I have to be separated from Huida often?" Yenwu said.
Then Huida replied, "Don't worry, it won't happen often. We'll just use one room anyway."
Then Yenwu was surprised. "One room?"
"Of course, because we are lovers," said Huida.
Ah, Yenwu is occasionally made happy by Huida's words. Then Yenwu said, "That's right, but still the same room is a bit uncomfortable."
"One more thing. After the banquet was over, I plan to go say hello to Mr. Janggong. For Mr. Janggong, I will introduce you as my lover. Are you all right?"
Yenwu was silent. He wrinkled his shirt because he was so afraid of it. Then Yenwu imagined Hyojo.
This time, Hyojo appeared in his mind. "I think we'll really meet."
Then Yenwu calmed himself down and said to himself, "Calm down, you'll go there as Huida's lover. Hyojo won't be able to treat me carelessly. It's okay, it'll be okay. So please calm down." Yenwu was silent.
Then Huida asked, "Are you okay?" Because before, the look in your eyes wasn't very good. Huida held a handkerchief. Then she wiped away Yeonwoo's tears.
Yenwu was silent. Then Yenwu brushed off Huida's hand. "I'm fine, I'm just lost in thought. I'm a little lost." In addition, "Are we there yet?" Yenwu said.
Then Huida said, "Are you very worried about what will happen in the future? Don't worry, from now until then, you are my lover." Holding out his hand, "I made a promise to you that nothing will happen to you."
Yenwu smiled. Then he grasped Huida's hand and said, "Yes."
Then they arrived at Huida's shop. and greeted by the employees. Welcome, Mr. Huida.
Then Yenwu said, "Didn't he say it was a small shop?"
Mr. Huida. A woman approached Yenwu and Huida. I was waiting for you, he said.
Then Huida said, "This is Danhe. How are you?"
Let me introduce myself.
Then Huida said, "This is Danhe, the best player here."
Danhe replied, You always give me so much undeserved praise, so I don't know what to do. Danhe saw Yenwu's hand holding Huida's and said, But then, who is that woman?
"My lover," Huida said.
Danhe smiled. I understand, a very precious guest is with us. Today, I will serve you more sincerely, said Danhe. Danhe sat down and immediately prepared to entertain Huida and Yenwu. Then he played the Gaegeum.
The Huida employees were very entertained.
Likewise with Huida and Yenwu, they sat together while watching Danhe.
Then Danhe finished playing the Gaegeum style.
Huida stood up and applauded Danhe and said, "As expected, Danhe, your performance was the best."
Then Danhe said, This girl wants to give a better song to Huida, so I just practiced as best I could.
"That thought is amazing," said Huida. Then Huida said to Danhe, "I will grant you the one thing you want, just tell me what."
Then Danhe replied, This girl did not wish for that. But if you don't mind, I would like to ask her to play a song for me.
Me? Yenwu was very surprised.
Danhe smiled at Yenwu. Then Danhe kept insisting that Yenwu play the tool. I want that woman to play a song for me.
Me? Yenwu is increasingly surprised by Danhe's request.
Then Danhe said, I happened to see that young lady's hand. There were several fists on her pretty fingers. So I asked him if he played a musical instrument like me. As people say, a player must recognize another player. If my prediction is correct, I think his performance will be as good as his performance.
Then Huida asked Yenwu, "Do you know how to play?"
Yenwu was silent.
Then Huida said, "Then went to play it." "I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to hear it. You don't have to if you don't want to."
It's sudden, but I'm fine with it, Yenwu said. Then he asked Huida, Then, will you ask me too?
Then Huida replied, "Your wish."
Yes, earlier you said you liked the look Danhe, and you will fulfill her wish.
Huida suddenly laughed, "Ha ha, I guess you don't recognize me yet."
Yenwu was silent. And they looked at each other.
"Even if you don't play it, I will be grateful to fulfill all your wishes."
Yenwu was very happy and said, Thank you.
Then Danhe looked at Yenwu.
They also looked at each other. Was he just smirking? Yenwu said in his heart. Yenwu started playing Gaegeums. Then he continued to try it in front of Huida and Danhe. Then I will play a song, Yenwu said.
Danhe looked at Yenwu.
So did Yenwu. Then Yenwu thought about the song, the title of the song. Untitled. This song. Yenwu started composing his own songs, but at that moment, Yenwu went into his own mind while fantasizing. That was the first song I wrote, while in the underworld. At that time, Yenwu was sitting in his room, while moving his fingers. The lower sky of the windowless room. Stuck here because of Hyojo's obsession. When the days of not being able to do anything repeat. While composing the song, then Yenwu looked at the Gaegeum. Then he noticed the tool. And really pay attention to it. That's how the untitled song was created, Yenwu said. Then he took the instrument. Yenwu fell silent and thought of Hyojo. I regret every time I love Hyojo, a song written with my bent feelings towards her. The two of them looked at each other lovingly at that time. In my inevitable life, built with the intention of cutting it off, said Yenwu. Then he woke up from his shadow, untitled. Yenwu started to play the Geogium.
Then Danhee stared with concern.
Yenwu continued to play it. She was very deep into her performance. Huida watches Yenwu.
So did everyone there, including Danhee.
Yenwu played it very well.
Danhee could only remain silent. Then she clenched her hands very tightly after seeing Yenwu's performance.
And Yenwu continued to play it soulfully. He played it like an expert Geogium player. Then Yenwu opened his eyes and he finished playing. Everyone gave Yenwu a round of applause.
Then Huida said, "It was a really great performance. This is the most beautiful performance I've ever heard. Because you played such an amazing performance, I also have to keep my promise. So now, what's your wish? It looks like Danhee is very disappointed that Yi Eunwoo can prove it."
Ah, that, when the two of us are alone, I will tell you.
Danhee left the place. I don't know what she was feeling at that moment. He ran very quickly out of the room. She closed the door to her room. He looked very weak from what he had witnessed, then said, "Mr. Huida." Originally, the seat next to Mr. Huida wasn't. Instantly imagined Yenwu and Huida, who were very media at that time. Then he said, "That's not for me." Danhee was very angry because she felt that her position was very important, was replaced by Yenwu, and because Mr. Huida adores Yenwu because of his looks. One of the best performances I've ever heard, it was the most beautiful, and she kept thinking about what Huida said to Yenwu. Danhee was furious then. Chai Yenwu.
They came out of the room, and Huida said, "That's very surprising. Thinking that you can play Geogium so beautifully."
Thank you, said Yenwu.
Then Huida asked, "Are you also seeing Geogium playing on the ground?"
And Yenwu replied, "No, when I was on Earth, I created music professionally. Therefore, I can play a large variety of instruments. There are some other songs that I bust too." Even so, it's been a long time since I played it myself, Yenwu said as he opened his palm.
Then Huida asked, "When you perform, I noticed that your little finger was trembling slightly.
Did you happen to injure him? Were you in pain?" Then Yenwu replied, "I hurt her a long time ago. It's hard to do perfectly, but it doesn't hurt."
Then Huida said, "What a pity.
What? Yenwu said.
You're playing so beautifully right now, but if you don't get hurt. I want to know how beautiful your game is," said Huida.
Yenwu was silent. Then she smiled. "Thank you for saying that."
"Besides, what desire did you say that you would ask of me?" Huida said.
And Yenwu replied, That's okay. I would like to ask if we can use a different room, but Yenwu said.
Then Huida replied, "Well, do we have to share a room since we are in a contractual relationship?"
The first night was already underway because of me, so I asked to use a separate room for a bit, said Yenwu. Huh. Where? What is this place? Yenwu was surprised to see the place.
She took off her shoes, Huida explained to Yenwu. "It was sponsored by my clan. It's also my favorite place. The walls are low, so there is a lot of volcanic ash accumulates here. It's therapeutic if you step on this ash with your bare feet. It feels like walking on a cloud. This pleasure is one that can only be experienced here. Would you like to try it too?"
No, I'm fine, said Yenwu.
Then Huida said, "If you step on it, you'll feel better. You've been restless since you came to the underworld.
In this case, Yenwu also glanced at only a few. Then Yenwu took off his shoes. He began to set his foot on the ashes. It was very soft. Looks like Yenwu likes it.
Then Huida explained, "This ash is from the underworld."
Then Yenwu looked up.
"It's been a long time since I stepped on it," Huida said. Yenwu stepped on the ashes.
Then Yenwu looked down.
Huida also noticed it.
Yenwu also fell silent. Then Huida lifted her leg, and Yenwu said, "Please don't." I said stop. Then Yenwu wanted to tease Huida.
Yenwu splashed the ash and almost hit Huida in the face. "Madam, for once. My apologies, that's why I told you not to do that." "Okay, it's okay. I guess you can't tolerate it," Huida said.
Then Yenwu said, "She's pretty." With silly Yenwu teasing Huida. Huida looked at Yenwu, who could laugh freely. Then they sat together and Huida said,
"I'm glad you like it. Actually, this is the room your Alan is staying in."
"My room?" Yenwu said. Then Yenwu said, "But shouldn't I share a room with you, Mr. Huida? I'm sure that's what you said earlier."
And Huida replied, "About that. I was in the room right next to you, and because there's also a small sampling door that connects the two rooms, it can be said that they are almost shared together. Of course, as you said, I have a pretty face, so."
Then Yenwu laughed.
"Because you are afraid of men, there's no way you can comfortably share a room with me. This should be enough to ensure that you don't feel burdened. The house is big, and there are many rooms. So please rest comfortably while you are here," Huida said.
Yenwu smiled and said, "Thank you."
Then Huida left Yenwu's resting place. Huida walked into a room. Then Huida arrived at her room and opened the door. It turned out that
"Mr. Huida, it's Soho. He's come to see Huida."
"What's wrong?" said Huida.
Then Soho answered, "I've found that person."
Huida was silent. And instantly just silent.
The day passed. After that, they visited Mr. Jang Gong. Suddenly, Yenwu felt scared and remembered that Alan met with Hyojo in that place. Instantly,
"Yenwu, you have finally arrived." Hyojo hugged Yenwu from behind. "I've been waiting for you."
Yenwu wrinkled her dress as they were about to enter the room.
Then Huida noticed Yenwu, who was worried. He knew what Yenwu was feeling at that moment. Then Huida said, "Janggong, it's me, Huida here."
Yenwu could only look down.
"Come in," Master Jang Gong said. Then after that, the door finally opened.
Then Yenwu saw Hyojo behind the door.
Hyojo smiled at Yenwu. "Yenwu," said Hyojo.
Mr. Jang Gong sat very gallantly welcoming Huida and Yenwu.
Yenwu was silent and it turned out that Hyojo wasn't there. Yenwu just hallucinated and always thought of bad things like that.
"I see you are Huida's lover," said Mr. Jang Gong.
Jang Gong, Lord of the Underworld, said Yenwu, his heart salad.
Then Mr. Jang Gong said, "Tell me your name."
"It's Chai Yenwu," said Yenwu with a very scared look on his face.
"Huida, how long have you been hiding it? Whoever sees this will think I'm trying to hurt you," said Jang Gong.
Yenwu was silent, and she said in her heart, "What's going on? Hyojo's not here. I'm sure she's with Jang Gong in my last life."
"When will I do that again?" said Huida.
And Jang Gong said, "Then, why are you coming now?"
Yenwu paused and looked at Mr. Jang Gong, and Yenwu said, "This time." The look on Yenwu's face began to change. He smiled, then, "I probably won't meet Hyojo in this hit-up."
Then Mr. Jang Gong said to Yenwu, "Well, I just wanted to say hello to you in person. Now that I've seen it, That's all, you must be tired, so go back and rest.
When Yi and Wu started to walk away from Lord Jiangong's room, Huida held Dawn's hand. Can you wait for a moment? I have something to discuss with Mr. Jiangong.
Yes, I'll wait outside, said Yanwu. Then Yanwu was already outside.
Huida was silent.
Then Jiangong said, "Beautiful child, please help her adapt well underground."
Of course, said Huida. Then Huida said, then, let's get to the point.
And Jiangong began to explain the Black Wolf. You probably know why I'm calling you today.
I saw Yanwu walking outside and said, I really thought I'd meet Hyojo today. I'm glad I didn't. Then Yanwu sat down. He sat behind a large phone, then he looked up at the night sky. This is the end. Unless Jiangong calls me again, there's no reason to come here again, then I won't have to run to the Hyojo. Now, it's really over. There was the sound of footsteps from behind. Yanwu fell silent. She imagined that the man had red hair. He approached Yanwu. Then Yanwu was surprised. Hyo? When he looked back, it was Huida. Then Yanwu got up from his seat and said, I'm really okay now. Because I promised myself. With a very stern look on my face. I won't cry, not anymore because Hyojo, while staring at the door, nor being afraid.
Huida was silent.
Then, should we go in now? Yanwu said.
Then Huida smiled and said, we should.
Then Yanwu interrupted. The castle I went to for the first time in a long time was still the same. Internal structure, decoration, location. Even the red wallpaper that Hyojo likes. Everything is the same as before. It's like a series of moments. Yanwu accidentally spoke like that suddenly. Ugh. Yanwu closed her mouth.
Are you okay? Your skin doesn't look good, said Huida.
Then Yanwu said, excuse me, just a moment. He lowered his hand. Then she stared deeply.
Then Huida said, I promised you that there will be nothing for your brothers and sisters.
Yanwu was silent.
Then Huida and Yi Unwu left the place. They also several went on the horse-drawn carriage. After a few hours of traveling, they arrived, we're here. Then, with her attention, Huida escorted Yi Unwu. Please go down carefully.
Yanwu was silent while staring at the kingdom.
And Huida said, this is the master's castle.
Today, Yanwu was right in front of the castle and said, I'll meet the Hyojo for real. And looked at the building. Imagining Hyojo's torture at that time. Yanwu could only remain silent. And was very afraid.
It was behind a tree, when Yanwu was alone. There came a Hyojo who was walking. Then Hyojo said, Father, seriously. What she saw in that man, who was no different from anyone else, that made her love him so much.
Seen from behind a tree, Yanwu heard the voice and was very frightened.
Hyojo terms of walking and getting away from Yanwu. Yanwu continued to hear his footsteps and was silent.
Phew! She was so relieved that Hyojo didn't know she was behind the tree.
Suddenly, who are you?
Yanwu was very surprised. She looked back. Then he didn't expect that Hyojo would come to him. Yanwu was shocked and gasped for air. Ugh! While covering her mouth, Yanwu could only remain silent.
Then Hyojo said, who are you? Hiding and watching in an unsettling manner.
Yanwu was really scared, and she said, That's really you, Hyojo. As I remember you.
Hyojo also looked at Yanwu. Then he stretched out his hand. You look suspicious, said the Hyojo.
What's this? Yanwu said.
And Hyojo said, normally, if I behave in a way that makes you unhappy, you wouldn't let me off so easily.
Then Yanwu said in his heart, while mentally Hyojo, however, I have to get through this as happily as possible. I can't attract attention. Yenwu was surprised when Hyojo pulled his hand closer to him.
Then Hyojo wanted to hug her.
Yenwu was silent looking at Hyojo and he said, "What? Let go of me."
Hyojo smiled.
"And let go of Yenwu."
Then he said, "Ha ha ha, I'm sorry. You look so Lucy-like shaking. Little mouse, when you see me."
Yenwu was in pain because his hand was pulled very tight by the Hyojo. Yenwu's hand looked very red.
Then Hyojo said, "I can't help but play."
Yenwu looked at her with great annoyance. And Yenwu said, "Disgusting. You've always been like that. You never cared about my feelings, just never do what you want. It's all just entertainment for you, isn't it?"
Then Hyojo said, "This underground world, other people's lives. Even you're pathetic. Louth."
"Playing jokes like this on strangers, I don't appreciate it," Yenwu said.
And Hyojo said, "How dare you? Do you know who you're talking about?"
And Yenwu was furious and replied, "Me? I'm Lord Huida's woman. Whoever you are, you can't treat me this way. In addition, if you have basic decency and integrity, you wouldn't treat strangers like this."
Hyojo smiled and said,
"Huida woman, huh? How brave, he found a woman like himself. But that guy Huida must be having fun. I think the rumors about ghosts are true, but unfortunately it wasn't. What's your name?" Yenwu paused and then said,
"Yenwu is my name."
"Yenwu. That's a good name," said Hyojo.
Sareem was seen standing in front of the door and looking up at the night sky. Miss," said Sareem. Then Sareem was surprised. Suddenly she saw Hyojo also coming out of the same place as Yenwu. "Hyojo?" Then Sareem looked down, and Hyojo didn't see him. That way, Sareem followed Yenwu.
And Yenwu said, "Please leave me alone for a moment. I want to rest in peace."
"That's the path the lady traveled," Sareem said.
Hyojo smiled.
Then Sareem felt very tired while following Yenwu. Miss, where are you, Miss?" Sareem kept shouting for Yenwu. She kept looking for Yenwu. "Miss." Sareem was suddenly surprised to see that Yenwu had fallen. "Miss."
Then Yenwu said, "Oh Sareem. Sorry, my legs gave out."
Then Sareem asked, "Miss, what happened to you?"
And Yenwu replied, Sareem, I'm sorry, but is it okay if I go home first?"
"Yes, miss. Go ahead," said Sareem. They also several home. Not long after, Sareem opened Dan's door. "Mr. Huida, have you arrived?" "That woman, she just fell asleep," said Sareem.
"I see. Very good. So what really happened?" said Huida.
Then Sareem explained, "It happened when Madam was alone. I also don't know the details." She looked terrified as if she had seen something scary.
Then Huida said, "Scared. There was no sign of it when she talked to Mr. Jangong."
Then Sareem said, "And there's one more thing I should mention." Before the lady left the sponsor's place, Mr. Hyojo came out from the same place.
Huida looked very upset. Hyojo. A few hours later, Huida met Mr. Jangong. "Black Wolf, this way."
Then the Lord interrupted him and said, "I am always grateful to your brothers. It's thanks to you that this place can be so peaceful." Suddenly, Mr. Jangong closed his mouth because the cough was so loud.
Then Huida got up and went to him. "Mr. Jangong, are you okay?"
Then Mr. Jangong replied, "Don't worry, I'm fine. It's only natural as I get older. My body is gradually not listening to me. Maybe it's time to pass on my position."
Then Huida said, "Please don't say things like that. Aren't you still healthy and strong?"
And Mr. Jangong said, it seems you don't have much faith in Hyojo. Even me, his father, don't feel the same way."
What's more important is that you know it well, Huida said. Then Huida said in her heart, this fake family gang will end someday. Huit was silent and hallucinating. Hyojo will soon realize that we are not really related by blood. As you said when that day came, when Hyojo becomes the master of this place, he will discover our secret, said Huida.
Yes, you are right. I was too complacent. Then Mr. Jangon changed the subject. By the way, about that child, Yenwu. While imagining Yeonwoo's figure. Is she the woman you are looking for?
I'm not sure yet, said Huida.
While thinking, Mr. Jangon said, I see.
Huida suddenly interrupted the conversation, but Huida was silent. I hope he is the one I've been searching for. The day had passed, their conversation had ended just like that. Seen Huida and Yeonwoo enjoying a warm drink together.
Yenwoo looked at the drink. Then he said, I'm sorry about yesterday.
What? Huida said.
Then Yenwoo explained, I said I would wait, but I left without a word. That seems to bother me.
That's right, it's nothing, so don't worry about it, Huida said.
Then Yenwoo answered, thank you for understanding.
Huida looked at Yenwoo and said ... But, is it okay if I ask what happened? You haven't looked well since yesterday.
Yenwoo looks very sad, then he said in his heart. It's just that. How much? Should I tell this person?
Huida was silent and waited for Yeonwoo's answer.
Then Yenwoo said, actually, this is my third life. While imagining yesterday's events. In my 2 previous lives, Hyojo was my husband, and I had a difficult time. This time will be different. And that it will be alright even if I face it, that's what I've been telling myself. But that time I saw her again. I still feel myself trembling in fear and shattered. I feel so pathetic. Yenwoo was silent, then continued her speech. There's nothing wrong. I think I'm just a little tired.
Huida was silent and said, I understand, just relax today.
A few hours later, Yenwoo went into her room and met Sareem.
My lady, I have finished preparing the bathroom. I'll wait outside.
Yes, thank you, Sareem, said Yenwoo. Then Yenwoo walked away from Sareem and hurried to take a shower. Then Yenwoo was silent for a moment in the bathroom and said, it must have looked suspicious. I would probably feel the same way. But instead of doubting me, Huida caught him talking to himself behind the bathroom curtain.
Suddenly, looks like you're really worried. I want to know about my true feelings, said Huida.
Then Yenwoo explained, at first, I just thought of you as an ordinary man. But as we spent more time together, I experienced it firsthand, you're affectionate. While imagining Huida's treatment to him. Sensitive. And you treat me with sincerity.
Since yesterday you haven't looked well, Huida said.
But Yenwoo has always been very hesitant. When he was about to tell Huida, he looked down and said in his heart. Staring into those eyes, I found myself wanting to tell her everything without realize it. However, can I really believe it? I have stated it clearly.
I will not accept money from him, said Huida. Huida was interrupted the conversation, then Yeonwoo was very surprised. Without realizing it, they were chatting in the bathroom when Yeonwoo saw Huida. Huida is already preparing to clean herself.
Huida him, Yenwoo looked away.
Then Huida said, my lover.
I'm sorry. I'll be leaving soon, Yenwoo said, but Huida held out her hand as if Yenwoo should stay with her.
Then Huida took Yeonwoo's hand.
Huida him, said Yenwoo.
Huida also continued to hold Yeonwoo. He pulled Yeonwoo's hand.
Then Yenwoo said, Huida, can you let go of my hand? Do you know how many people are waiting outside right now? Yenwu is very anxious.
Then Huida said, Sareem will not make such a mistake. He knows I'm here, and he let that young lady in on purpose.
Then Yenwu said, if it's Sareem, then.
If we go out like this, it will arouse suspicion from others, said Huida.
Then Yenwu answered, then.
Then Huida said, since it's come to this, how about we warm up first, before we leave?
Of course, it's up to you, Yenwu said. Then Yenwu fell silent.
Then Huida said, you're right, we should be careful not to do anything that might make others suspicious. No matter how big the contractual relationship is, if we're supposed to be a couple.
Then Yenwu started to put his feet into the water.
We should be able to do things like going into the same bathroom together, Huida said.
Then Yenwu sat in the water with Huida. Yenwu also looked at Huida. She kept his eyes on Huida.
Huida closed her eyes. He held his head. Then he opened her eyes. She looked at Yenwu, who was soaking in the water.
Yenwu was silent. Then Yenwu said in his heart, I think she's as delicate as a woman.
Suddenly, why are you looking at me like that? Huida said.
What? Yenwu was surprised.
I'm usually not very sensitive to other people's gazes, but if you look at me like that, even I would feel embarrassed, Huida said.
Then Yenwu felt bad. And Yenwu turned his body backwards, sorry.
Then Huida replied, no, don't apologize. It's all my fault, so what can I do?
Yenwu was surprised.
Then Huida said, when someone as beautiful as you is in front of me, it's hard to look away.
Yenwu also looked at Huida.
Ahem. Anyway, what I want to say is, that's just it. I don't want you to feel regret, Huida said.
Yenwu also looked at Huida and could only be silent with what Huida had said. Then Yenwu pondered and said, I'm weird, right? There must be a lot of suspicious things in me.
Then Huida said, of course, there are many things that make me curious. But I don't want to make you suffer because of that. So I'll wait. Until you want to talk first. Until you don't have that expression on your face.
Then Yenwu said, when you were so nice to me, I'll keep waiting to tell you who I am, what kind of life I live.
Then Huida said, and I became curious about you, what you're thinking.
Yenwu smiled and said, Huida, thank you. With sincerity, they looked at each other. Their conversation passed.
There is a cup of drink on the table, precisely in a large craftsmanship. Then the drink was taken. Seen from the water a red-haired man. And that's the Hyojo. Yenwu, said Hyojo while smiling. He held the drink and looked up at the night sky while picturing Yenwu. Chai Yenwu, said Hyojo.
Then in a different place.
Sareem was seen with Yenwu. Miss, let me fix your clothes.
Yes, said Yenwu.
When Sareem adjusted Yenwu's clothes, she was very surprised. Miss, there's a bruise near your shoulder blade. Was it originally there?
What? Yenwu was shocked and said, no, it's not like that. Then Yenwu imagined the events of that night, when he met with Hyojo. It must be a bruise from long ago. I must have accidentally bumped into something, Yenwu said. Then he said, whatever, Sareem, I have a question.
Don't hesitate to ask, said Sareem.
Then Yenwu said, I will only teach instruments. Do I have to dress like this?
And Sareem replied, of course. Between men and women, especially between lovers, who knows what will happen? You will thank me later when the time comes.
Well, see, said Yenwu as he walked away from Sareem. Instantly, Yenwu was silent and remembered Huida's words at that time, when he was with Huida. Then he and Huida sat together that night.
Then Huida said, my lady, this may be a bit sudden, but can I ask you a favor?
What is it? Yenwu said.
And Huida continued her conversation, the untitled piece you played today. I can't get it out of my head. If that's okay with you, once you get used to life here, I'd like you to teach me that part. What do you think?
Yenwu was silent and said in her heart, I would like to know how Mr. Huida's performance will sound.
You can see Huida standing in front of the window.
Mr. Huida, Yenwu is coming.
The woman has arrived, said Huida.
Yenwu is very pretty in the dress.
Huida was silent looking at her.
Then Yenwu said in his heart, somehow, I can't look into her eyes. They also faced. Then Yenwu said, there's no sheet music. Can you listen and follow one line after another?
I'll give it a try, said Huida.
Then Yenwu began to teach him. Yenwu started to play the Gaejium.
Huida also watched him.
Yenwu started to play it slowly. Then Yenwu looked at Huida.
Huida followed him little by little.
Yenwu continued to play it. Then he was surprised to see Huida.
Huida played it very well.
Yenwu smiled. Yenwu enjoys the strains of the Gaejium she plays.
So did Huida.
Yenwu continued to play it and Huida continued to follow him. They played together. Then Yenwu said, Mr. Huida, you played very well.
Men have different natural strengths. So the sound will definitely be different from female musicians, said Huida.
Then Yenwu said, but you're perfect.
Thank you, said Huida.
Then Yenwu said, you have to be very sensitive. You have very good control. Yenwu smiled.
Then Huida smiled and said to herself, what I was thinking during the lesson, while imagining Yenwu playing Gaejium earlier.
Then Yenwu was silent looking at Huida and said, Mr. Huida, do you enjoy exercising regularly?
Pardon, said Huida.
This is an important question for playing an instrument, said Yenwu.
And Huida replied, I understand. And Huida said, for a moment, I thought you might be interested in me. I don't exercise regularly, but I do ride horses and practice archery when necessary. I also have a question. What do you like, my lady?
Yenwu was silent. Then she looked at the window and answered. The sky. I love looking at the blue sky.
Then Huida said, the sky, huh? Actually, I want to give you a gift, that's why I asked, but it seems difficult now. Can you tell us about the surface?
Then Yenwu smiled and said, the surface world. Have you ever heard of snow?
Huida smiled. This, Huida pointed at her cheek.
Likewise with Yenwu, no, that's not it. It is snow falling from the sky. Falling from the sky like ashes here, but white and clean. Where I used to live, a lot of snow would fall in winter, turning the whole world white. I found a really beautiful scene.
Then Huida looked up at the sky and said, your description brings back memories. When I was young, I once surfaced. Just once, but Huida remembered herself at that time, when she was young. That's when I saw snow for the first time.
Suddenly, Yenwu pushed Huida to the ground.
Then Huida said, my lady.
And Yenwu asked, are you? Do you know how to get to the surface? Do you know how to get to higher ground? Yenwu looks very upset with Huida. If only I could get to Earth, I could get rid of this horrible relationship with Hyojo, Yenwu said. Then Yenwu imagined father, mother, and Wu, and continue to live happily with my family. Yenwu shed tears.
Then Huida looked at Yenwu. Huida couldn't bear to see Yenwu cry. Then she put her hand on Yenwu's cheek and said, please calm down. It's true that I went to a higher place, but I was very young at the time, so I don't remember anything about it. And even so, my guardian spirit went berserk, because I was dragged away by force, Huida said.
Yenwu was very disappointed to hear that.
Sorry, but it's hard for me to give you the answer you want, Huida said.
Then Yenwu said, no, it's okay, I should apologize. Yenwu turned his face away from Huida.
Then Huida asked, do you miss her a lot? But that place. Isn't that your ex-husband's place?
Then Yenwu replied, even so, I miss the higher ground. That's where I live. And up there I'll be able to see the clear sky again, you know what?
And Yenwu said, I understand. It seems like I'm asking a complicated question. I apologize for my rudeness.
No, you don't. It's okay, I'm totally fine. Just now, I was the first to be rude. Also, you only worry about me. Right? Yenwu said.
Then Huida said, yes, you're right. Indeed, there's something I should ask you.
Yes, said Yenwu.
Then Huida said, at night you can't go out without me. Nights in the underworld are very different from those on the surface. When people die, the souls of the dead go to the afterlife at night. In the afterlife, the soul of the soul, punished for the sins committed in their previous life. And know this, to avoid punishment. There are times when souls stray from their path. The souls of lost souls, they often harm the living.
Yenwu was silent.
This is the reason why there are beings responsible for bringing the souls of the dead to the afterlife, which is called the Reaper, said Huida.
Then Yenwu said in his heart, it would be strange for me to know all this anyway, so I'll agree with him. And Yenwu replied, yes, I will do as you say.
Then Huida told Yenwu, and one more thing. It turns out you can visit your family today. Their lodging problem has been resolved. It's been a long time since you've been able to eat with your family.
Then Yenwu was very happy and said, I'm very grateful to Mr. Huida. I'm very, very grateful.
Then Huida said, much better hearing.
Sorry, said Yenwu.
While looking at Yenwu, Huida said, when you say thank you, come forward, instead of apologizing. Say thank you like you did today.
Yenwu smiled. Okay, I'll do it, said Yenwu. The day passed, there was a crowd in an inn building. Then Yenwu said, Sareem, will you be okay if we don't go together? You might have to wait here for a while.
I'll be fine, milady, said Sareem. Then Sareem said, you will see them for the first time in person on that day, you know? You should spend quality time with your family.
Thank you, Sareem, said Yenwu.
Go inside quickly, milady. I'll do some business here in the meantime, said Sareem.
And Yenwu replied, okay, I'll be right back, so just wait a bit. Yenwu also held the door.
From inside it looks like it's Seo Wu. Who is it? Then Yeonwoo came in. Annie, Seo was very surprised to see Yeonwoo.
Seo, how are you? Said Yenwu.
Wow, Annie, what is all this? You must be very successful, Annie. Mum, Dad, come quickly. Annie is here. Seo is very happy to see Yeonwoo.
Then his father came over. What? Yenwu is here.
It's been a long time, Dad, said Yenwu.
That's right, Yenwu, said his father, who didn't expect to see Yenwu. Do you know how much I was worried about you?
Then Yenwu said, I apologize for making you worry. But as you can see, I have done well, so please don't worry too much.
Then Mum came out. Why Yeonwoo are you here?
And Yenwu replied, yes, are you all right? Mum,